Ed Ludlow, we're going through these headlines. First of all, that subscribers number, that definitely jumps out. What else for you?
Yeah, I mean, they beat comfortably, right, the 4.5 million estimate, 7.66 million subscribers. What was interesting is, they're going to scrap this guidance going forward. They didn't say much about the ad tier or ad-supported tier, but they were saying that they're pleased with how that went. And there is evidence that cost-conscious consumers in this environment in particular did come to the platform in the final 3 months of the year. Looking at the stock, we're up 8% in after hours. Investors have short memories, right? They were down 3% on the Reed Hastings, stepping back, stepping down as CEO, and the reshuffle in management. We're now up 8% on the beat. So you have to ask what's more important. We knew this Reed Hastings development might come, right? 2020 is when we first had this reshuffle. Ted Sarandos elevated to co-CEO. What's actually more interesting for me is Greg Peters in all of this. He's a Silicon Valley guy. He is a tech guy. He knows what he's doing.
So what does that tell you, Ed, about Greg Peters being elevated to the role as co-CEO? I was particularly surprised of the idea that there will continue to be a co-CEO and two CEOs as well. I would have assumed that, Sarandos would have just been solo CEO. But is Ted Sarandos sort of the face of the company, the guy who's in Hollywood, and Peters is more of the operational guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's split function, right? Ted Sarandos is the Hollywood guy, making the deals on the entertainment and content side, whereas Greg Peters has been leading efforts, not just on advertising, but if you look at a lot of the sell-siders who upgraded the stock going into this earnings, the bullishness was around how Netflix is paced to deal with all of the issues this industry is facing. Yeah. They have an ad-supported tier that they feel is reasonably priced. Greg Peters leads that, but also they're cracking down on password sharing, which here in North America, in Europe, whatever market, it's an issue for consumers.
I'm going to interrupt you here for 1 second here, Ed, because we do have some other breaking news. Of course, the main headline on Netflix is Reed Hastings giving up his CEO title. We're now learning another CEO stepping down, this over at Texas Instruments. Richard Templeton, the chairman, president, and CEO, will relinquish the CEO role, will still hold on to the chairman position. The COO, Haviv Ilan, will be elevated to the new CEO position over at Texas Instruments. So Texas Instruments, guys, getting a new CEO. And, of course, we go back to Netflix, Carol and Tim, getting a new co-CEO.
Well, exactly. And I think this is really interesting. And I was looking at Greg Peters, too. He was previously, before his current position, that he was really involved in international development. And when we talk about growth avenues, right, we think about how important this is, Scarlett.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I just was looking through the numbers, and a few more points I want to make here. Free cash flow, Netflix sees for the full year of at least $3 billion when analysts were anticipating $2.32 billion. And really, this comes with this renewed focus on profitability for these growthy companies. And Ed, that's where I want to bring you in here, because this is a company that must now prove to investors that it's incredibly disciplined on cost. And that includes things like spending on content, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, investors have been calling on Netflix to do this, and Netflix itself has had frustrations that the market was so zeroed in on the subscriber, net new subscriber or growth statistics that they weren't looking to those traditional financial metrics. It's interesting on the $3 billion free cash flow target. They do say it's contingent on no foreign exchange swings. And the reason I bring that up is the international content slate has become so important for Netflix. Think about their market and content coming out of Korea, foreign language content coming out of India and other parts of Asia Pacific, Latin America. The other development in that blog is that Bella Bajaria, who is the global head of television, is now taking on a new role. She has a promotion to Chief Content Officer. So again, it's not just that Reed Hastings is stepping back as CEO and he is becoming executive chair. They had a pretty deep bench of talent, and they seem to be pursuing a strategy of promoting from within and leveraging the skill sets they already have.
Do you think, though, this is going to sort of placate investors, particularly with the pivot, Ed, that they're obviously trying to make to ad tier? But more importantly, I think what we heard out of Reed last time during the last earnings report, last earnings conference, where they really kind of talked about this idea of the spend that most investors had come to expect, and the idea that that wasn't going to be sustainable going forward.
Yeah, the data tells us that actually they're winning on the content slate, right? If you look at third-party data, Netflix titles come out as the most watched for most of the months in the last 3 months of 2022, at a time where Warner Brothers Discovery and Disney, what was so interesting going into this is third-party data, Parrot Analytics being one example, actually showed that those competitors were taking market share from Netflix. Well, Netflix still did really well to add those new subscribers, but the bullishness around this stock is the content slate in the first half of this year and the hits so far.